we're going to begin this class in a child's pose. Start at the back of your mat, either with your knees together or mat distance apart, and then begin to walk your hands forwards along your mat, resting your forehead down on the floor. Trying to keep your sit bones towards your heels, lengthening your lower back, and try to release your shoulders down into the ground. Feeling the forehead nice and heavy, and taking deep breaths in this pose. As you breathe in, feel the back expanding, and as you breathe out, try to relax into that stretch a little bit more. If it is uncomfortable on your shoulders to have your arms out ahead of you, then please feel free to take them down by your sides. We're just going to stay here in this pose for a couple more breaths, letting our spine lengthen and release. Walking those fingertips a little bit further away from you if you can, just to deepen that stretch. You now have the option of lifting your wrists and palms away from the floor, keeping the fingertips down, so you're creating a tent-like shape with your hands, and then just start to seesaw your shoulders side to side, giving your forehead a little bit of a massage, and you'll start to feel a deeper stretch in the chest and shoulders here. Again, if this is too much for you, then just keep the hands flat on the floor and remove the movement. Finding stillness, take the hands back down, flat on the mat, and then just begin to walk them over to the right hand side. Option to take your left hand on top of the right, and try to guide the left shoulder and left hip down towards the floor, creating a nice deep stretch down the side body. Breathing deeply into this position. On your next inhale, start to take the hands over to the left. Option again to place the right hand on top of the left to deepen that stretch. And really try to think about sending the right shoulder and right hip down. Don't let them lift up. Breathing into the side body and still trying to lengthen through the crown of the head, creating space through the spine. Again, on your next inhale, start to walk those hands back center, holding that child's pose there for 1 or 2 breaths. And then we're going to find our tabletop position. Hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips, finding a nice flat back to begin with. As you inhale, you're going to lift the chest and drop the belly, taking a couple of rounds of cat-cow. And then as you exhale, start to round through the spine, dropping the crown of the head towards the floor. Once you're in this cow position, just start to shake your head from side to side, maybe nodding it forward and backwards, releasing through the neck. And then on your inhale, start to lift the chest and drop the belly again, sliding those shoulders down away from the ears. So just taking this movement with your own breath in your own time, taking it as slowly or as quickly as you like, and just really focusing on the movement that you're making, feeling a nice stretch feeling the muscles release and relax. So I'm feeling a lot of tension in between my shoulder blades here, so it feels really nice to round my back. It also feels nice to sway from side to side in this position, so feel free to take any movement that you wish to here, whether that's nodding and shaking your head or whether that is swaying from side to side with the hips and shoulders. Just being gentle in all of the movements that you take. As you round that spine, really think about pushing the hands into the floor, sending the chest all the way up to the sky. Good. Finding a flat back now, we're going to take rotation through the spine. So lift your right hand all the way up to the sky and then thread that hand through the gap between your left hand and the left knee, taking the shoulder down towards the floor. Inhale, reach the hand all the way back up to the sky, and exhale, taking the hand through the gap. One more of these, reaching that hand all the way up to the sky, finding that twist, opening through the chest, and then breathing out, taking the hand through and down to the floor. This time, resting your shoulder down, taking your head onto the mat if you can, trying to keep the hip bones over the knees, and also really thinking about keeping both hips level. So don't let one hip lift higher than the other. You have the option of walking the left hand out ahead of you if you would like to deepen that stretch, but if it's too much, then just keep it down in front of your face with that hand on the floor, helping to ease that chest open towards the sky. Couple more breaths here, enjoying that twist through the spine. And slowly come back onto both hands. Reach that right hand up one more time and then place it back down to the mat. Taking that on the other side, so lift your left hand up to the sky, breathing out, thread that hand through the gap, taking the shoulder down to the floor. Inhale, we lift. Exhale, threading it through. Now don't worry if you can't quite get that shoulder all the way down to the floor, just take it to wherever feels comfortable for you. And if it does feel too much, you always have the options of placing cushions or blocks underneath the shoulder or head. Don't force anything, just relax into the pose. Taking the focus to your breath as you hold the position. Being aware of your hips, trying to keep them on the same level. And then you have the same option as before. If you would like to walk the right hand overhead to create a deeper stretch through the side body, you can do. On your next inhale, coming back up onto both hands, reach that left hand up to the sky one last time and then place it back down, finding tabletop position. Take your hips back towards your heels and a small child's pose just to release the spine one more time. We're going to begin rolling up through the spine, coming into a kneeling position. Now, if you have dodgy knees or it's uncomfortable for you to kneel, then you can do this in a cross-legged position. We're just going to take 4 shoulder rolls back, so taking the shoulders all the way up towards the ears and then sliding them all the way down towards the floor. Getting some nice movement into the scapula and getting all of those muscles around the neck and upper back working. Now bring your fingertips towards your shoulders and start to draw circles with the elbows. Really trying to open through the chest and still thinking about growing nice and tall through the spine, lifting up through the crown of the head. Now taking those circles, leading with the fingertips, big arm circles all the way up and back. Breathing through the movement as always. This time, once you take your arms to the top, you're going to interlace your fingers and then take your hands behind the back of your head. Lift the chest looking up towards the sky and then start to round through the back, pointing your elbows down towards the floor, tucking your chin into the chest. Again, inhale, lift the chest, take the elbows all the way up towards the sky. Exhale, elbows drop down to the floor as you tuck the chin into the chest. So this should feel like a nice stretch in between the shoulder blades in the upper back. Just working on the flexion forward and backwards through the spine. Taking this as slowly as you need to. Releasing those hands, interlace the fingers in front of you and just push them out ahead, round through the spine one more time, feeling that nice deep stretch. And now we're going to interlace the hands behind our backs. As you inhale, draw the shoulders backwards and start to lean forward, taking your head down towards the mat. Take your hands up towards the sky, and this should feel like a nice stretch through the chest and shoulders. If it's too much for you, then just relax out of it. We're not going to hold it for too long. Releasing the hands back down by your sides and then slowly start rolling up through the spine. We're going to find our way back into a tabletop position. Finding your hands underneath the shoulders and knees underneath the hips. Engaging the core by lifting that belly button in towards the spine. We're going to find some movement through the scapula now. So as you inhale, lift the chest up towards the sky, and as you exhale, drop it down towards the floor, keeping that flat back. So we're working through the shoulders here, finding protraction and retraction of the shoulder blades. Maintaining the length through the spine all the way to the top of the head, so the head is in line with the spine. Keep this movement going a couple more times. This is great for the mobility through the upper back, in the shoulders and around the scapular area. Now we're going to find a puppy pose. Start to walk the hands towards the top of your mat and lower your head down towards the floor, keeping the hips above the knees. Now this can be quite a deep stretch for some people, so just take it as far as is comfortable for you. If you need to find a cushion or a pillow or a block, any prop that helps you, then place that underneath your forehead. If you have the room, you can rest the chin on the floor to deepen that stretch a little bit more. It is quite an intense stretch, so don't feel like you need to stay here. It's great for opening up the chest and working into the shoulders. Keep holding it here, but remember that you can come out of it whenever you need to. Nice. Slowly start to walk those hands back in towards your body. Take a little cat-cow here just to counterbalance that stretch. Coming into a seated position and bring the soles of your feet together. Holding on to your ankles, lengthen up through the crown of the head and then start to round through the spine, taking your head down towards your feet, using the elbows to help ease those knees out. Feel free to take any shakes with the head here if you need to release that back a little bit more. And then on your next inhale, start to roll back up through the spine. Keeping your right leg bent, extend your left leg out to the side of you. And then you're going to place your forearm on the inside of that left leg, reaching your right hand all the way up and overhead, finding that side stretch through the back. Now don't worry about how far your head is, how close your head is to your leg. Just think about reaching those fingertips away from you, keeping the chest open to the ceiling. So we're not collapsing the right shoulder down. Keeping both sit bones on the floor as best as you can. Now, if you do feel like you've got the room, you can take that left hand to your right hip. Keep reaching away from you, breathing into it. If you do a lot of sitting around during the day, the lower back can start to begin to feel really tight. So this is a really nice stretch to release any lower back pain. Changing legs now, so bending the left leg in, extend the right leg out, placing the forearm on the inside of that leg and reaching your arm all the way up and over. Again, keeping both sit bones on the floor and trying to keep the chest open towards the sky. Option to take that hand to your hip. Keep holding for a couple more breaths, really enjoying this nice side stretch here. This is one of my favorites. As you come out of the stretch, we're going to bring the soles of the feet back together and round through the spine one more time as you send those elbows down towards your knees. Good. Finding a straight back this time. We're going to round through the spine again, but pull backwards on those ankles. Now I'm showing you from the front here, but I'm going to turn around to face the side just to show you what it looks like from a side view. So as you hold on to those ankles, make sure you're not holding on to the toes because you don't want to put any strain on your ankles, but hold on to the ankles and imagine you've got a piece of string pulling your back backwards. So tuck the pelvis under and tuck the chin into the chest. Again, this is a really nice stretch for the upper back. Drawing the navel in towards the spine here. deep breaths. As you uncurl from this stretch, we're going to extend our legs out in front of us. Now, if your hamstrings feel quite tight, again, you can place a cushion or a block underneath your hips to lift them a bit higher to make it more comfortable. If not, don't worry if you have a bend on the knees. So we're going to hinge forwards from the hips and relax the head over the legs. Now, normally I would tell you to keep a nice straight spine, but for today, I really want you to try and just relax into this stretch. Relax the head, try not to hold any tension in the neck. Let the shoulders curl and relax over and just feel that stretch through the mid-back in between those shoulder blades. Don't worry about holding onto the feet if you can't reach them. Just let the arms rest down by the sides of your legs. And try to let go of any tension that you're holding anywhere. Let the chin tuck in towards the chest. If it begins to feel too much, just slowly come out of the pose. Bend your knees, feet flat on the floor, and just take hold of underneath the legs. Start to slowly tuck the pelvis under and roll down through the spine all the way down to the floor. Bend your knees in a little bit closer and take your feet mat distance apart. Arms out by your sides and just start to rock your knees left to right, letting the hips naturally fall side to side here. And now let the knees drop over to your left, holding them there. Try to think about sending the right knee down to the floor and squeeze the right glute, pushing the inside of that right foot into the mat. So you should feel a nice stretch here, down the side body, into the hip flexor. Maybe it goes into the quad down the front of that right leg. And take your gaze over to the right. So this is a nice twist through the spine and a nice stretch all the way down the side of that body. And then taking those knees over to the other side, this time thinking about sending the left foot into the floor, squeezing the left glute and trying to send that left knee down. If you start to feel any pain in the knees anywhere, then just release it. Don't force anything, nothing should feel painful. Taking the gaze over to the left, relaxing the abdominals. And then coming back center. Now we're just going to take a glute stretch. This can help release the lower back. So take your right foot and cross it over your left leg. Option to keep the left foot on the floor, or you can lift it away from the floor. And either take hold of the back of your left leg by threading the hands through the gap, or you can take hold of your shin. Now, if it's too difficult for you to hold on to the leg, you can always use a wall like I'm showing you here. So you can take that left foot up on the wall and just use that leverage there to help you stay in this stretch. If you are threading your hands through the gap and easing that leg towards your chest, make sure that your lower back stays on the floor and it's not lifting away from the floor. So you still want to create length through the spine. And then we are going to take that stretch into a twist. So from this glute stretch, we're going to cross the right knee over the left and then let those knees drop over to your left, feeling that twist through the spine. Uncross the legs as you come back center and then take that glute stretch on the second side. So same options as before, keeping the right foot on the floor. Maybe you want to lift it up. Maybe you want to take hold of that leg to guide the knee in a little bit closer towards the chest. Remembering to keep that spine nice and long along your mat, not lifting away from the ground. Keep everything in contact. And then crossing that left knee over the right, taking both knees over to your right, finding that twist on the second side. Practicing the arms out to the sides if you feel like that is good for you, or you can have them out straight. Taking your gaze over to the left. Slowly bring your knees into your chest, finding a ball pose. And just rocking from side to side, massaging your back along the mat. Again, keeping the lower back on the floor. Taking a big stretch, arms overhead, legs out long, and just staying here for as long as you wish.